Welcome to Dig Deep, the mining podcast. In this podcast, we go deep into mining news, hot topics, and live interviews with mining professionals and leading figures in the mining industry. Introducing your host, Rob Tyson, founder and director of Mining International and Mining International Executive, a leading global mining recruitment and headhunting agency.
Hi, mining community. Welcome back to another episode of the Dig Deep, the mining podcast. And today's guest is Matthew Yates, who's the executive chairman of OreCorp, who are a development and exploration company listed on the ASX and have an advanced high-grade multi-million ounce project in northwest Tanzania. Matt's an experienced geologist with over 30 years experience in exploration and project development, working in Australia, or has worked in Australia, Central Asia and West Africa. He's been with OreCorp since 2013, moving up from CEO to managing director. And he's here today to tell us more about OreCorp and their journey so far. So let's welcome Matthew to the podcast. How you doing, Matthew?
Yeah, lovely. Good, Rob. Thanks a lot for having me on.
Yeah, appreciate your time as well. So wondered if you can give our audience a little bit of background about yourself, about your career, and then before we go on and speak about OreCorp.
Yeah, sure. Look, I'm born, bred and educated in the UK, graduated from Nottingham University in July 87 and came out here to Perth in Western Australia the following month in August, and the rest, they say, is history. And I guess I had 9 successful years predominantly in the goldfields of Western Australia before I then went to Tanzania in 1996. That was a big eye-opener for me, moving to Africa. We had a successful project out there after a dream run here in the goldfields. And then when I came back to Perth in the early noughties, that saw me on sort of corporate development for a group looking for projects, and that culminated in bringing in quite a few uranium projects into a company called Omega Core in 2005. That led on to a thing called Mantra, but all of those projects were successfully taken over. And then in 2010, we established OreCorp then as a private company. The company really was sort of set about with the sole objective of finding company-making asset. And really, as you painted my picture, I've steadily worked my way through the executive chair now, where I've given the CEO and MD role onto a guy called Henk Diedrichs, who's an engineer, a mine builder, a developer, and operator, which is a different set of skill sets from mine. I like finding things, other people like building them. So that's really brings me up to where we are with the present day in OreCorp and its development projects at Nyanzaga.
I wondered if you can, obviously the company was founded 13 years ago. So just wondered if you can give us a little bit about the journey of the company since you started back then to sort of present day.
Yeah, look, I think Alistair Morrison, who co-founded the company with me, and another guy called George Bennett, who's based in South Africa. I guess we'd all had our own, if you like, successful career paths, particularly Alistair as well, who's another geologist. He'd had a run here in the goldfields. He'd then worked in the Tanami on the granites project there before he moved to Tanzania as well in 1996. And I guess both of us had successful careers of being part of big discovery teams in our careers. And we'd also worked for small companies and large, and I guess out of all of those, we saw different attributes that were positives and obviously ones which were not so positive. The whole idea of OreCorp was to pull together all of those, let's call it key and positive attributes with a pure view to sort of generating a thoroughbred mining company that was focused predominantly on gold and base metals. I guess that was the application of our skill set. And back in 2010, when we set the company up, we raised $11 million as, if you like, seed capital with a view to start scouring the earth looking for things. And the earth, it's fair to say, in 2010 was pretty well pegged. That took us into Ethiopia and on to Mauritania. We ended up starting grassroots projects in those 2 countries. We've never been shy at moving around. And we saw their great geological endowment in both countries, and with a view then to get the company started. We then listed it in 2013, topped the tin up, and again, we're very well backed. So we've always been in the capital markets to actually then work up the projects we've got, but also keep a good look in our rear vision mirror for any opportunity that might be coming our way. Now that started to move forward, I guess, in 2015 when we started to talk with Acacia about the Nyanzaga project in Tanzania. I'd known about it, as had Alistair, from our time and experience in Tanzania. And I guess this is where our experience as a group started to come more than together. We had the Chairman Craig Williams there, just come off a massive win with the Lumwana project in Zambia in Equinox Minerals. And we knew what a mine looks like, you know, and when you're starting to scour the earth to look for things, people say, well, what are you looking for? And we said, well, we'll know when we find it. And Nyanzaga, when we got there, as a project that had been left on the shelf, thought processes around it really hadn't moved in about 20 years. But we saw scale and opportunity. It's a multi-million ounce deposit. It had always been viewed as a massive, great big open pit. We saw a geological opportunity to get in there and focus on the geology. That's something we truly believe in, mineral systems, and deliver an opportunity that could give us scale and scalability to the project. We ultimately did a deal with Acacia. We've always been ambitious. I think when we did that, we had a market cap of about 5 million Aussie and about the same in the bank. We had an earning of 15 million US, and people thought this was a large mountain for us to climb, but I guess we've always had confidence. We've backed ourselves, and we've also backed ourselves in terms of what we see in a mineral deposit as well, and we've rarely been wrong. You know, as a group, we had an outstanding track record of discovery and development in different companies, albeit, but at the end of the day, we all know what we were looking for. And then by 2016, the market had changed. We raised a pile of money, and that enabled us to push on and complete our earning in Nyanzaga. That 15 million took us to 25% of the project. And then fast forward a bit further, there was then opportunity to acquire 100% of the project, which we ultimately did. So mission accomplished, if you like. The company was set up to find a world-class asset, which we've done, and also an anchor project for the company moving forward. And whatever happens in the company, whether it's bought or whether it goes on to buy other things, you need that anchor asset to get you going. And this is what we genuinely believe we have at Nyanzaga. We've delivered a mine now that can, a development project that can deliver around about 250,000 ounces over 10 years for starters, and we see many, many more years beyond that in the current resource base, plus all of the exploration potential around it.
I wonder if you can just tell us a little bit more, discuss the progress of Nyanzaga.
Yeah, look, I guess we've moved on a long way in the past 2 years in particular. I think there were some challenges that we experienced in Tanzania. There was a president who had a different view of mining and the resources sector. He passed away 2 years ago. That then allowed a new president to come to the fore who had a very, very different view of investment, a different view on natural resources and their development. And in Samir Salah Hussein, the new president, we see a great and golden opportunity moving forward in Tanzania. So over the past 2 years, we've achieved an awful lot. We've managed to fully permit the project. That's the special mining license. That's the environmental certificate. There's ancillary permits around that, but they're basically box ticking. We also managed to bring in $56 million around about 2 years ago, big equity raise that could see us through this sort of pre-development phase. We've then finished the definitive feasibility study. We concluded that in August last year, again, right in the middle and tail end of the COVID, no mean feat. And Henk and his team did a brilliant job on delivering what is a very high margin, large production profile long life mining operation to the fore. So in the past 2 years, we've come an awfully long way. We now see the resettlement and the financing as two of the key work streams ahead of the construction starting, and we're belts and braces into those as we speak at this point in time.
The company's focus on gold and base metals. Why as a company focus on those two areas or two commodities?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's where we've, I guess, cut most of our teeth. The gold, all of us as a board and group are focused largely on gold. I think the thing is, particularly when you start working in kind of more distal parts of the world, you tend to find that once you've built the mine, you then got to get product out. The great thing with gold is you fly it out in a briefcase. And it's also got an incredibly transparent pricing mechanism that any day, any time in the week, you know what an ounce of gold is going to cost you, you know. So whereas some of these more nefarious elements, I've done work in uranium in the late sort of noughties, and very, very different in terms of pricing that sort of product. And also you see in the critical metal space now, you know, particularly things like lithium, whatever, very difficult to get a consensus on pricing and indeed to price it. With base metals as well, particularly around the copper side of things, you know, there's always a ready market for that metal. It's incredibly difficult to substitute. It's one of the most efficient transmitters of electricity. So whether you're pushed to look for, say, copper as base metal would be part of the sort of energy revolution that we're seeing at the moment is part of that, or whether it's just it as a metal for transmitting electricity and not being able to be substituted. Also, a relatively transparent pricing mechanism there. You know, on the LME, you can get an idea of what a ton of copper is going to cost you any day of the week. So we like those, and we think they give scalability. They also tend to, there's always a ready market for gold, copper, and any of the other base metals for that matter as well, because I think if you've got a product, you need to be able to sell it. Often some of these other metals, it's probably geography getting it to the port, i.e. can you move a bulk commodity through a given area, and then there's a set price at the other end of the food chain, and that to us probably not so appealing. So as a group, we felt that if we stuck to our knitting, where we've had success before, don't do anything weird, keep our message simple to the market. Also, be whole on what you're looking for. Don't just follow every metal because the market's moved. You've got to make a decision with mining. It's a long-term commitment. You know, to get this project financed and built now is going to be another 2 to 2.5 year journey. And you have to be committed to do that. And we think that also jumping from commodity to commodities, it takes the focus away from the company and the people in it.
Tanzania has had some political, obviously, challenges. Where do you feel the country is right now?
Oh, well, I think it's heading to a lovely sweet spot. I have a 25-year history in Tanzania. I first went there in '96, and I've been in and out of the country. I lived there for 5 years and in and out of the country. There was a period there under the previous president, Magufuli, that was challenging between 2015 and 2020. And I think that sort of took Tanzania on a path that most of us had not seen before. I think there was also, you know, throughout a lot of Africa after the boom, whether it's Tanzania or anywhere, a lot of kind of resource nationalism got moved around. President Magufuli passed away and was succeeded by Samia Suluhu Hassan, lady president, who came to the fore within 3 weeks of taking power. That's nearly 2 years ago now. Came in with kind of sweeping changes that they wanted the investment dollar back into Tanzania. They wanted to support those investments and basically make things happen. And certainly from our point of view as a company, by June, we've been waiting for this cabinet approval for our special mining license for nearly 3 years. We got that. We then negotiated over 6 months all of our key agreements, which is the framework agreement, shareholders agreement, and ancillary documentation. And then we had our mining license granted December of that year. So from our point of view, it's moved forward very quickly. You've also seen a lot of investment starting to flow back into the country, which we believe is a huge, big tick. You've seen that with BHP in particular, putting around about 100+ million US into Kabanga. Barrick tidied up the dispute with Acacia. Acacia was 75% owned by Barrick. Barrick's done a great job in terms of tidying all that up, and the government's also done a great job in working to resolve that dispute. You know, this willingness to resolve things, I think, has been warmly welcomed by everybody. So Barrick now reopened and have put a considerable amount of investment into Bulyanhulu. They've also put a $60 million payment package together for licenses around Bulyanhulu, which again you wouldn't have seen before. You've got Anglo American now accelerating their underground program, also their exploration program out and around Gator, which is all positive. And we've got a raft of rare earth and graphite producers as well now that are starting to get permitted and looking to bring money in. And then the petrodollar, which is really, to me, is one of the bellwethers of a country's strength, is that we've seen now Total Energies in particular have started this East African crude oil pipeline from Uganda coming through Tanzania into the coast. That's a $3.5 billion initiative, and there's no way they would have started that if they didn't have a level of comfort in Tanzania. And probably importantly, Shell is about to make a final investment decision on the LNG project on the coast of Tanzania, which is somewhere in the order of $30 to $35 billion. Now, you put all those projects together, you're probably looking at $40–45 billion investment. That matches the current GDP of Tanzania. So it's a massive commitment. You know, the Tanzanian economy is wanting and willing to grow, and I think you'll see this investment coming in over the next 3 to 5 years that is going to seriously and materially change Tanzania for the better. Over the first 20 years that I had involvement there, you saw the growth of the middle classes, which is key, I think, in any of these sort of developing countries, and they proudly moved forward. And there's a lot of willing, highly educated, very capable people in Tanzania that I believe want to see it a lot better place. And we want to be part of that with them as well. So it's a win-win settlement that they had arrived with Acacia. It's a win-win then for the whole industry. And you put that against the backdrop of large economic investment, and I don't see how there's a downside to any of that. I think Tanzania is moving into a very, very positive phase, and that's an absolute credit to Her Excellency and her government. And we're looking forward to working with them. I've just had the quarterly board meeting with our local government reps there now, and it passes off in as professional a manner as you could imagine a board meeting in Perth would do anywhere. And again, nothing but help, assistance, and a positive attitude, which is exactly what we need to get things done.
Which is really, really good, really good to hear.
Yeah, no, I think seriously, Rob, you know, Tanzania, yes, it's had a wobble, it's back on track now. And I think we put, you know, what happened behind us and we move forward. Look, anywhere in the world, there's always challenges building a mining project. You're moving lots of big, heavy equipment around. There are lots of things have to happen all in one go. So anybody who tells you that any of these things, building them or financing them anywhere in the world, is probably trying to oversimplify things. But I genuinely believe now Tanzania is on a good path, and we're looking forward to working with Her Excellency and the government and all of the people in it, delivering Tanzania's first large-scale gold mine in 15 years.
OreCorp is undoubtedly one of the best undeveloped gold projects. How does that fit in with your corporate objectives?
Well, it's exactly what we set out to do. You know, I think I mentioned earlier, you need an anchor project to develop and grow a company. Now, that's exactly what we set out to do as a corporate objective when we set the company up in 2010. And that's exactly what we've delivered. We've delivered a multi-million ounce, high margin, large gold potential gold producer. And so to us, that's all the boxes ticked. So that's either growth for the future through acquisition and discovery, you know, or sometimes these companies can merge with others and that can lead to a bigger outcome as well. So I think all of our corporate objectives were settled with Nyanzaga, and it's onwards and upwards from here.
What's your views on the gold price, and where do you think it's obviously heading?
Well, I guess gold being my favourite metal, I'm a bull. I believe the US interest rate cycle will pretty well come to an end. Hopefully this year, I think we're seeing it starting to top. And I believe that that's going to be the catalyst to move the gold price north. You started to see that already. The minute they sort of mentioned loosening the reins a little bit, the gold price starts to nudge up. I guess consensus depends on who you talk to, but my view is that it should start to move well over $2,000 an ounce. I think there's a few fundamentals around that. And I guess, you know, there's been an inflationary blip. We've seen that. Is that sustained? But, you know, at the end of the day, the cost of building these projects and operating them isn't reducing. And to that end, whether it be gold, nickel, copper, pick a metal, you know, if these things are costing more to get out of the ground, and as part of this inflationary cycle, I believe that gold's sort of set on one or two sort of fundamentals that will see it go a lot higher quite quickly. And I guess my wish list for Christmas would be somewhere north of 2,000, ideally closer to $2,500 if it could get there. Nyanzaga is also uniquely positioned to capitalise on that as well. You know, lifting the gold price to $2,000 an ounce increases the NPV of the project by around about 50%, you know, which is a huge lift. You then do the math then on to 250 and 2,500, and you can soon end up with a very large number in front of you, which is of great appeal, obviously, to us and the potential investor.
Yeah, I hope it is 2,500 by the end of the year, but we will see.
Sadly, we don't control that, Rob, but
no.
Yeah, got to have your wish list for Christmas.
Yeah, certainly. Where are you with funding discussions, and what are the next steps?
Yeah, so look, getting the DFS done and out the door was the key to that. Obviously, the banks need a document to work with, and we had a lot of interest and still have a lot of interest. We sort of gone out, if you like, for looking for around about 300 million in debt as an outset. I think we stated that publicly before Christmas, and fairly safe to say we were swamped by a lot of non-binding indicative offers. So we've then moved that forward. That's progressing steadily as we speak. We've now got the independent technical experts. They've been to site. They'll be finalising their report that they give to the banks then, with a view then to looking at starting to mandate the banks later on over the coming months on the back of that report and other bits of documentation. So the debt side of things moving well, and running in parallel with that, we've also had an influx of expressions of interest from various royalty/streaming groups. Now these offer an alternative way to fund the project. It's relatively new and not well widely used down here in Australia, but in North America, it has become a key part of funding strategy. And a lot of the sort of proposals that are being put forward to us at the moment do make for quite a compelling read. So we would see probably going forward that we're going to obviously have to look at those things a lot closer. The price of debt has increased, as we've all seen globally in the past 12 months, gone from essentially nothing to now sort of 4, 5, 6%, where they're sort of saying the interest rate cycle finished. And then that makes these sort of streaming propositions look a lot more attractive than they ever did. And, some of the numbers that are being thrown about are very appealing. And we intend to get the best outcome we can for our shareholders and the least dilutive manner of getting there. And I think if that involves taking on a stream, then I think we're more than willing to entertain that. So it's quite an exciting phase for the company. The remainder of the money will come from equity, but obviously we're hoping as the gold price starts to lift, we're starting to see it already in the industry, a bit more of a positive sentiment flowing back through into gold equities. And I guess if we get lucky on the timing, we're going to get a really good outcome. So we're quite excited by where we're at and that we're moving forward very, very well.
And concluding, what's the outlook for the remainder of 2023?
Well, look, I guess to be greedy, I think it'd be nice to be fully funded, moving forward on time, on budget, and with a gold price well north of $2,000 an ounce. And I guess with that all said, then we would start looking for our next opportunity moving forward. So, yeah, that's our wish list for Christmas. And I believe it's all achievable. The only bit, I guess, I don't control is the gold price, but we'll look to the gold gods for that.
Yeah. And you mentioned other opportunities. Would you still stay in Tanzania, or would you look a little bit further afield within Africa?
Well, look, I think part of the growth strategy of the company obviously would be an African focus. We'd obviously need to get this put to bed, as I've said, but, realistically, we're quite happy with Tanzania, and obviously East Africa in general is an exciting place to be geologically. So we always keep our eyes open, and anything that will make sense on the corporate development and business opportunities, we're always going to look at it. And if it can enhance shareholder value, we're all there.
Great. Matthew, really appreciate your time, giving us an update on OreCorp, and wish you well for the remainder of 2023. Perhaps you want to come on the podcast next year and give us an update.
Yeah, lovely, Robin. Thanks a lot for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure to meet you, and thank you.
Yeah, no worries. For our audience, if they want to reach out to you, if they've got any questions, if they want to follow the story, how can they go about doing that? What social media platforms are you on?
Yeah, so look, we have obviously our website, which is www.orecorp.com.au. You can just Google us. We're on LinkedIn, and we've got Twitter and several other things moving on. So inquiries at OreCorp for direct inquiries to me off the website, and just reach out, or if you want to talk, call us on the office line, which is +61 8 9381 999 and we're available to talk.
No worries. We'll include all those in the show notes accompanying this podcast, and obviously on the YouTube channel as well. So if you want to reach out to Matthew and his team, obviously feel free to contact him and look at the social media links for any updates. So really appreciate your time, Matthew. For those that are listening, appreciate your continued support. Please keep sharing these episodes and the podcast to educate the mining industry, give others within the mining community updates on obviously what's happening around the world. So I really appreciate your continued support. And until next time, happy mining.
Thank you for listening. Remember to reach out to Rob via the show notes, and be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Until next time, happy mining, helping each other to improve the mining industry.